Yes, my precious. Yes, my precious. I promise no hobbitess will take you from me. There's nothing that will take you from me. You are mine and mine alone. And you will bring me all the power and happiness I've ever wanted. Yes, my Hi! Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Rank the Movies. We're still going through the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Last week we talked about the Fellowship of the Ring, the extended cut. This week we move forward to the Two Towers. That is, of course, the middle chunk of this story. Again, I find it's kind of hard to talk about because it isn't the full story. Because you're not going from point A to point B to point C. You still have a very encapsulated plot, but it's still part of the bigger picture. Obviously, Two Towers is where we meet Gollum / Smeagol, and we get way more definition on him. He's kind of in Fellowship of the Rings, but he's just kind of background more than anything else. He, of course, wants his precious, and I understand. I understand why he doesn't want the hobbits to have his precious, because they're hobbits, and hobbits are scum. I mean, what? No, yes. So The Two Towers is another one of those movies. I watched it when it first came out 19 years ago. This very VHS copy that's sitting right here. I don't want to tap it because I'm afraid I'm going to send this entire structure I've got going here over. But I watched it, and I liked it better than I liked Fellowship of the Rings back then. But I still wasn't a huge fan. It still didn't draw me in to really make me want to watch Return of the King. So now we're fast forwarding 19 years. I watched Fellowship last night, and it was pretty good. I liked it better. Maybe, again, because of time. Maybe because I'm watching the extended cut. Now, 24 hours later, I just finished rewatching The Two Towers. And again, I liked it better than I did 19 years ago when I watched the theatrical cut. I did like this one a lot better, and I've looked in the book that comes with this extended cut series that I have, and it does tell you where the extended scenes are, and after looking at it, some of those scenes are what I really liked about this movie. So it just goes to show you sometimes a longer product is better. I think there's some great storytelling in here. There's still some scenes I feel like you didn't necessarily need other than for character and storytelling. But at the same time, why not have character and storytelling? If it's only going to add 2 to 3 minutes to the movie, why not have those bits? My biggest problem with this movie, and it was my problem with it the first time I saw it, and I know people are going to argue with me, and I felt a lot of the Sam and Frodo storyline of this movie was just there to remind us their characters. Because once they meet Gollum and that interaction starts, it's just them doing stuff. There isn't a ton of forward motion on their overall story, because their overall story is simply getting to Mount Doom. You have the little character things of Sam becoming more of an influence onto Frodo and being his protector, and you have Frodo being corrupted by the ring. But we already got a lot of that in Fellowship. We already got a decent amount of that story in Fellowship, and this is just more of it. Which again isn't bad, but in the context of everything else that's being pushed forward in this movie, with the attack on Rohan, everything that's going on in Isengard, the Merry, Pippin, and the Ents, you have all these other things going on that are actually really pushing forward a lot. And then you just come back to Sam and Frodo and Gollum walking, and Sam doesn't trust Gollum, but Frodo wants to because they both have felt the weight of the ring. But Frodo doesn't understand the true power of the ring because he's a filthy hobbit. And filthy hobbits can't hold precious. No, they can't. They can't hold the precious. Only people who are good and pure can hold the precious, like Gollum and me. But let's get back to the movie. So yeah, although again the scenes aren't bad, I didn't see enough character development, and the just pushing the plot forward. Because at some point they get captured, so they're literally taken off their path to go do a side quest, which again is fine. except everyone else, their storyline is really just to create um, havoc and slow down Isengard and Mordor, and try to take the eye away from what Frodo and Sam are doing. So the Battle of Rohan, all that stuff, that's what it's doing. So that's what their mission is. So the minute they get captured, they're no longer on their mission until the end. Again, I get it. I see the value of why that story needs to be there and why those beats need to happen. I just feel like Tolkien, when he wrote the books, didn't quite know what to do with Frodo and Sam. He had all these other big ideas that he wanted to follow through with, but he didn't know what to do with Sam and Frodo. So he just had stuff happen. So that's my biggest complaint. Again, I still really like this movie overall, because that's just a small factor of what is the rest of this movie, which was a much more enjoyable experience this time around than the others. There is something I saw again in this movie I forgot to mention in the review of Fellowship, because it's there too. It really looks like they use the exact same footage of tree getting pulled down from various angles. And they do it again in this one. Like, you can argue that, oh, it's different trees. It's different trees and different footage in Fellowship, but they then tear down more trees at Two Towers, and it is legitimately the same footage. It is legitimately the same trees getting pulled down. And I thought that was just really funny for such a huge budget movie that they had to recycle footage like that. I thought it was really super amusing. Brad Dourif appears in this one, as is Karl Urban. They join the main cast. Brad Dourif is a great actor, as is Karl Urban. Thumbs up to both of them. We also meet Boromir's brother, Faramir. And that's one of the scenes that is in the extended edition that I really, really liked, is a flashback to right before Boromir is sent to go to Rivendell, and they're defending a city. And there's just a great exchange between Faramir, Boromir, and their dad. And just that relationship. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really good. And I really loved that scene. I thought everyone did so well in it. That was like one of those scenes that just kept me in the movie and made me go, man, I want to see more of that dynamic, which I believe does get looked at in Return of the King. There is more of that dynamic. I'm glad the seeds were planted here. There's also some good callbacks to the first one, with Gimli getting thrown by Aragorn, because in Fellowship of the Rings he says nobody throws a door. A dwarf is never thrown. And in this one he asks to be thrown because, well, sometimes dwarves need to get thrown. But no, overall I enjoyed The Two Towers. This is a really solid film. Now that I've gotten to rewatch it, it seems really weird talking positively at the end of rewatching all these movies that I didn't care for, that I finally found ones that I actually kind of, like, my opinion is better. Again, I'm not saying I want to run out and put these movies into my top 100 or watch them, like, on a yearly basis. Again, I can probably go another 15 to 20 years before watching the Lord of the Rings movies again in their entirety. But I'm not regretting doing this. And I'm looking forward to getting to Return of the King tomorrow. Again, tomorrow for me, next week for all of you guys watching the review. The Two Towers, again, had a half an hour of end credits, which is just ridiculous. Like, that's a lot of credits on any movie. And it's because they credit everyone who is a charter member of the Lord of the Rings fan club, which is cool, but that is a lot of names. That is like the majority of that half an hour. It's just those names scrolling. But it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. Two Towers, it's a solid middle piece of this story that's going to end with Return of the King. My least favorite CG thing in this movie is Legolas getting onto a horse in battle. He's shooting arrows, and Gimli rides up behind him on a horse, and then he kind of bends like this. He, like, loops on. It's ridiculous looking. I put it up there with the bad photoshopping of Gandalf's face on Fellowship of the Ring. But yeah, I think it's a great movie. I love kind of how everything flows together, and you get the Battle of Rohan and the Battle of Isengard happening, and the Ents being brought in because they finally realize the destruction that is being brought onto them in conjunction with everyone else. They need to be part of it, as the elves also realize the same thing. I found it weird that there's a second love interest for Aragorn in this movie. That he's already got Liv Tyler, the elf, Arwen, and now he's got Arwen's the human, and you know what? Now he's got a human love interest as well, and it's like, oh man, he's got two women who both want him, and I don't know if he knows what he wants. I just thought that was like really weird. They had to bring in another love interest. Like, oh, he's not going to get the elf, so he's going to end up with this human girl. Overall, again, my opinion on Two Towers has changed, so that is good. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to see next week's video on The Return of the King. It's going to be an interesting one, so definitely tune in. And also, if you have something to say, leave a comment. Again, I'm not bagging on these movies. I'm not saying they're trash. I'm not saying any of my faults totally ruin the movies. They're just things I've noticed. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week for Return of the King. I am Martin Prevost. This is Rank the Movies. Precious wants me to tell you to have a good day. And I want you to have a good day. Because Precious is precious. Isn't that right? Precious. Yes, Precious. Yes, we'll stop talking to the people now, and I'll get back to you. Yes, Precious, you are.